I wanted to say thank you so much for coming to our fall/winter Toast Talk session, and that here at First United, we are gathered and we work on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, the Hunkaminam and Squamish speaking peoples who have traditionally stewarded this land since time immemorial. And if you are gathering from a different place and you know and want to recognize the place of the Indigenous peoples where you are joining us from, you are welcome to put that into the chat, which is this here. And we're looking forward to spending time with you this morning. We're going to talk about our redevelopment, the public launch of our capital campaign. We're going to hear from Bert, Canete, our food services manager, and watch our campaign video. And like I said, we're going to end in about 45 minutes. So with that, I will get started. This is a very special week in our history here at First United. For almost 140 years, we've been serving the downtown Eastside. The residents in our community commonly refer to us as the Church of the Open Door, or simply the Church. This building is a place of sanctuary and support in a neighborhood that has been disproportionately impacted, especially recently, by the compounding COVID-19, opioid, and homelessness crises. Our open door reputation dates back to about 1918, when we opened our doors to those in need during the Spanish influenza. Then, when the Great Depression hit, First was on the front lines, feeding thousands daily in this very spot. And over the decades, as neighborhood poverty increased, we've expanded our services to respond to the urgent needs of this community, which is a community we call home. Regardless of race, gender, expression or identity, sexual orientation, ethnicity, ability, or faith, we are dedicated to providing inclusive, minimal barrier social services that support low-income, underhoused, and homeless individuals. Our building is currently actually the third First United building to stand at this location, but as many of you know, it is an aging church built in the 1960s, and it was never designed to support this important work. And it's falling apart at a time when the demand for our services is increasing. In our long history, we have always adapted our services to meet our community's interests, but to continue to respond to our neighbors and address the critical housing, health, and social justice needs of the downtown Eastside community, we have to rebuild. That is why we are partnering with Native Housing Society to redevelop this very site into a multi-story, purpose-built space. The pedestal of the building will be the new First United and will offer 4 floors of amenities and services, nearly tripling the size of our current program space. Then, in the 7 floors above us, we are leasing air parcels to enable the development of over 100 units of safe, secure, below market, secured rental housing for Indigenous people operated by LUMA. This project has been deeply community informed and years in the making, and we are so excited that we are moving forward to rebuild. The total cost of our project is approximately $65 million, and our portion totals an estimated $30 million. So this week, we launched our capital campaign, the first forward Building Connections campaign. We are thrilled to announce that of our $30 million capital campaign target, we have secured over $22 million already, which is almost 75% to our goal. We're so excited that this project has received such tremendous support from the private sector and from our wide community of supporters. And I just want to acknowledge some leadership gifts that brought us to here. We received a $10 million leadership gift from the 625 Powell Street Foundation, which really helped give us the momentum and credibility to get this project going. Also, I want to recognize the incredible support of the Pacific Mountain region, not only for the $2 million that they have held in trust for us from a congregation for over the last decade, which has increased nearly 75% in investments, but also for an additional $1 million that they pledged this summer. It also pleases me to say that a huge thank you to our board and our First Forward cabinet for contributing over $1 million collectively to this project. And then additional gratitude is extended to our friends at St. Andrew's Wesley United Church for contributing $1 million, and to Wheaton Precious Metals for their $1 million contribution too. It's heartening to see how many people share our vision of a neighborhood where every person's worth is celebrated and all people thrive. And now we're ready to welcome even more people to help us move First forward. We're affectionately calling our campaign this, not only because we're moving first forward into a new chapter, but we continue to prioritize building connections within our community. At the center of everything we do are our community members, and we know how important it is to foster a community that builds social connections for people to feel supported and safe. Our building will also honor the Indigenous and spiritual roots of the land it occupies, and we consider it reconciliation in action in a number of ways. Our commitment as an organization and as part of the wider United Church of Canada to reconciliation has informed the planning and designed our project in a number of ways. In addition to our housing partnership with Luma, this project aims to create spaces that are safe, familiar, and comfortable for Indigenous community members. Art by Indigenous artists will be incorporated on all levels of the building, interior and exterior. Our building will also have a dedicated interfaith sacred space and outdoor gathering area, actually 2 gathering areas that have been designed to be suitable and welcoming for traditional Indigenous ceremonies. These and all other spaces in the building will be named after Indigenous leaders and the Indigenous and spiritual roots of the land, rather than after our donors, who will instead have the option of offering a dedication for these spaces. It's a new policy at First United that aims to decolonize this aspect of fundraising and philanthropic space. We are so excited to be breaking ground in early 2022, and our programs and services are currently being relocated to satellite locations throughout the neighborhood within about a 3 or 4 block radius, where they will continue to operate until we open our doors in 2024. One of our programs, the community meal programs, is going to operate out of our food truck. So this will start in the spring of 2022. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to our food services manager, Bert Canete. Bert, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Bert. I'm basically a guy who's been working his whole life in the food industry. My family moved to Canada in 1973 after the coup in Chile. And when I was 15, I think I got my first job in a pizza place in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and I was fired within a month because I put way too much stuff on the pizzas. I was making them as if I was going to eat them myself, and the owner didn't care for that. But I persevered, and I bounced around the restaurant industry for the better part of 35 years, I guess. Everything from fine dining to greasy spoons, catering. During the catering phase, I worked for a company that did all the major rock and roll concerts in town. And as much as a lot of that was very cool, I still discovered, much to my chagrin, that even at that high level, that kind of industry is just a glorified slave trade. But I won't go too much down that rabbit hole. But I wanted to do something better. I wanted to do something more. And, you know, it sounds cliche to say that I wanted to do something that I didn't feel was inherently evil or whatever, like so much of the stuff in this modern world is. And I dropped off an application at the church. I knew the head chef here at the time. And, you know, the idea of feeding people that were hungry instead of like people that had $100 or whatever just appealed to me on a bunch of different levels. And so I came to work at the church, and very soon became the head chef / kitchen manager due to perseverance, hard work, and they fired the other 2 guys. And I just loved it, you know. I mean, I started making some kind of connections with the people, dispensing with preconceived notions that I have about the community down here, and feeling like I was doing something important, feeling that I was giving food to people that needed food, not people that were bored or wanted a night out or whatever. Not everybody that goes to restaurants is, I don't, you know, enjoy your favorite restaurants, please. Like, but so, you know, we puttered along, and I've been here for about 7 years. The church is a wonderful place to work. I would say without hesitation, it's the best place that I've ever worked, on top of the fact that I feel like I'm doing something that matters. There's challenges here, for sure. You get to see a lot of stuff that people prefer to never see on a daily basis. And And you can really see the need on so many different levels, not just for food. Like, I mean, we're talking about a community that basically, you know, I want to say the word hurting because that's what I see a lot. And that's what really strikes me the most. You know what I mean? Like the hunger, yes, of course, that's the department that I specialize in. But you know what I mean? When you just see 5, 6, 7 people walking around down the street crying or whatever, and you know, like this is the place to be. Like you got to be here, you got to help. So I tried. We're doing right now. Our magic number is 200 plates for lunch, for breakfast too, if the demand is there, and 5 days a week, and except for check day because most people have money to go get bacon and eggs or whatever something that day. I think that we have less demand that day, and we. Oh, there's one more thing I want to mention here. Oh yeah, we also do the shelter 364 days a year, 3 meals a day for every bed in the shelter, which, you know, I mean, it doesn't say, it sounds like you're like, okay, well, 40 plates, blah, 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 but 364 days a year, it's something, you know what I mean? It's, you have to stay on top of it. And I mean, we're in a system here now, but it's an important program that we're running. And as we know, the church is coming down. So I was concerned about the community that came here every day, where they were going to go. I know that there's UGM or Sally Ann or whatever, but I frequently, especially the people that come every day, very thankfully tell us that we're the best on the street. You know what I mean? And I don't say that to pat my own back, but I just say that to say that, you know, we're doing something important for these people at least, you know what I mean? And I was concerned about what was going to happen during the 3 years that we were going to be rebuilding here. And so I suggested getting a van. I imagine something along the lines of a Dodge Econoline van with a sliding door on the side or whatever. But we got a food truck that has 2 lowboy ovens, 6 burners, a flat top, 2 deep fryers, a sandwich bar, refrigeration, a water tank, a gas tank. Of course, we need. It's really an amazing unit, and we'll be able to push a serious amount of food out of this thing. Like we will have to work with our commissary kitchen. They won't let you run one of these without a commissary to empty your gray water tank and your overnight storage and all that kind of stuff. But we're going to be able to fill that void that will be left when we come down. It's an exciting project. I'm honored to be a part of it. I can't wait till the new church is built. And I think that about wraps it up for me.
Thanks so much, Bert.
Yeah, no worries.
We're going to have a couple of minutes for folks to ask questions about our meal program, but I'm going to start because yesterday somebody asked a fantastic question around the impacts of the flooding that is currently happening in BC, and if we'd seen an increase in demand for our services in the downtown east side. And we haven't necessarily seen more people, but Bert had a really interesting, I guess, yellow flag for us to be paying attention to. So can you talk about the ways that you're paying attention to current events as they impact our food program?
Yeah, I mean, on a very bottom line level, I've seen stuff climbing like crazy and unavailable. Stuff that we became accustomed as a privileged nation to just seeing all the time. I was unable to get granola bars for like 6 weeks or whatever, right? And it's all an incredibly complex, like, I mean, as we all know, the supply chain is woefully strained right now. And we just had every highway coming into Vancouver washed out. I believe they had the number 7 open periodically yesterday, 1 lane going each way or whatever. But I was already seeing red zeros down the board for a number of different items. I try to use several suppliers so that if I notice price climbing up, quality going down or whatever, I can get this from the other guy and see, you know, I mean, you kind of got to stay on top of it. But the reports from the field, I mean, from my Cisco rep, for instance, is, the example I'll use is she'll say, okay, and it's a letter like many pages, and it's like cauliflower, sporadically available or unavailable. Why? because there's no glue. There's no glue. Yes, there's no glue for the boxes. There's also no cardboard. There's no wood for the pallets. There's also no pickers, and there's also no truck drivers. And then now let's talk about garbage, right? Like the supply chain is woefully strained right now. It's causing costs to go up. Like the case of black beans that I used to get for $32.10 is now $47 in about 6 weeks. Yeah, I mean, the concern is real. It hasn't impacted us fully yet, except for, as I say, I've been scrambling to get supplier from this guy to bring me the cups, this guy to bring me the vegetables, you know what I mean? I've got a butcher too and stuff, so. But that is definitely one way that I have seen that it's going to impact for sure. The ports are also strained, and as we saw, the rail got washed out in several places. I mean, we're a privileged nation. We're nowhere near, you know, lining up for UNICEF or anything like that. But there's some serious cracks happening in our armor, or whatever, however analogy you want to use.
Thanks, Bert. Does anybody else have a question for Bert about our meal program? I'll go back and forth. There's not a ton of people, so if you want to just unmute yourself and jump in rather than raising your hand, I've got too many people to keep my eyes on all at once. Heather, you're muted.
Sorry. Perhaps you or Bert could talk about the food truck and what its future is going to be, how it's going to be used, both the shelter and our street program.
Yeah, I mean, the primary use of the food truck is going to be to continue our community lunch service. Hopefully we're going to be getting an unofficial official space that will pull into the moment that you're allowed to park, like the moment the driving regulations change in the morning. And I mean, there's a bit of trepidation heading out into the great unknown or whatever, because we'll no longer be serving from the safety of our building. We'll be, you know, out on the street and stuff like that. We know that stuff can happen there. But I mean, I think for me personally, it was just like, yeah, we can't stop doing it. You know, there's faces that I see every day. Those are people that are depending on that food, right? So, you know, I mean, that to me is the primary use of the food truck. I know that there's been talk of using it at fundraising events and stuff like that, but the main thing that I want to see, it's going to get heavy use, right? It's going to be 5 days a week, every week, right? Like that's its primary purpose.
Yeah, and then in terms of our shelter, with our shelter relocating outside of the church as well, the shelter meals will be prepared by somebody on Bert's team at the commissary kitchen on Clark Drive. And then we have another little truck. It's a little Ford Transit Connect, and that's being outfitted by our food design consultants, our kitchen design consultants, to be able to safely, like in a food safe manner, transport the food for lunches and dinners to the new shelter. And so there's a separate truck that will do that. And then sometimes we are, I think a lot of mornings we're able to provide sort of like a bagged breakfast, because not everybody wants to roll out of bed right in time for Bert to serve soup. And so there'll be refrigeration at the new shelter for breakfasts. So we'll have like hard-boiled eggs and cereal and fruit and granola bars and things like that. And then obviously, like, you know, special times like probably Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter and things like that, you know, they'll do a hot meal, like hot breakfast, bacon and eggs. Like,
Turkey dinner, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, to call it a radical reimagining of our food services program is a drastic understatement. I mean, this thing is going to get turned on its head. We're going to fall into a system right now, but you know what I mean? When you've been slinging it this way for 8 years or whatever, to all of a sudden driving around, doing it out of the truck and stuff, we will get it. It's going to be fine. But I'm excited / right? Like, there's a word for it, but I prefer to just use right?
There may be more questions for Bert, but we have a couple of other things we want to share with you today. And so I'm going to end questions for now. And then if we have time at the end.
I actually have to go do lunch because there's nobody here but me this morning. And I want the guys are here at 10:30. So it's kind of, I have to get cracking.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bert, for joining us.
Nice to meet you all. Right on. Nice to see you, the faces that I've seen before. And yeah, have a good rest of the thing.
Okay. Thanks so much, Bert.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So as you can hear from Bert, a lot has been happening here at First, including we launched a brand new website on Tuesday. So if you haven't been to our website this week, I encourage you to check out all of the new features, especially the First Forward section, which provides a lot of detail about our redevelopment and our capital campaign that's split into 2 different pages. And now, without further ado, we would like to share with you a new video that we have developed about our redevelopment and our capital campaign.
When you're out in the streets, you know, it's cold, wet, you're dirty. You wander the streets day and night just to try to stay warm. You feel like you're useless. You're worthless. You wouldn't believe how you feel after a good hot meal, showers, pair of clean socks that are dry. It makes you feel like a complete human again. It made me feel like there was actually somebody out there that cared.
First United is just such an integrated part of the downtown East Side. It's so important to provide that dignity, giving them the chance to experience just the normal daily social pleasures of life. Our primary activity is caring for our neighbors and ensuring that we're working towards our vision, which is a neighborhood where the worth of every person is celebrated and all people thrive. We really try and eliminate any type of barrier for somebody to access our services. We were known as the Church of the Open Door as poverty started to increase and there started to be more street homelessness here. We opened our church doors even before we became a shelter, even before we became an official drop-in center. First United has served the downtown East Side for over 135 years, but demand for our services has outgrown our space. And the space really is falling into disrepair. Our existing building is obviously not purpose-built for the things that we do now as an organization. We have adapted a building that was built in the 1960s primarily for congregational worship. Funny story, our operations manager a couple of years ago, what he thought was going to be a simple fix with a toilet, and he went to go and tighten a bolt in the wall and the whole pipe just disintegrated into his hands. And so we've really passed the useful life of our building. In order for us to meet the growing needs of our community, we're partnering with Lumen Native Housing Society to redevelop our site at 320 East Hastings Street, and it's going to be a multi-story, purpose-built space. The new First United will offer 4 floors of amenities, 2 drop-in spaces, a commercial kitchen and dining area, legal advocacy and tax program spaces, a computer lab, multi-purpose rooms and private counseling spaces, public showers and washrooms, a day sleeping room, an interfaith sacred space, an outdoor deck and gathering area, and space for our administrative offices. The total cost of the building is going to be about $65 million. First United's portion of the building will be approximately $30 million, and so we've embarked on an ambitious $30 million capital campaign. We've already raised over 70% of that.
I think it's fantastic. The facility is required, totally, and more, programs and helping people get back on track.
You know, a computer room, it would be great. How many people out there actually have a working laptop? They don't. That computer will get them a job, get them housing, whatever they need.
to have everything in one space, and then of course, low-income housing above, which is so badly needed. So badly needed.
Our building is reconciliation in action in a number of ways. Many people don't know that the population of the downtown Eastside is 40% self-identifying as Indigenous in background, as compared to only 4% of the wider population in Greater Vancouver. And so we also are very excited to partner with BC Housing and Luma Native Housing Society to build an additional 7 floors of space with 103 units of urban, Indigenous, affordable, secured rental housing. And we wanted that housing to be operated by an Indigenous-led organization. So we're thrilled to partner with Luma to provide that space. There's a difference between saying all are welcome here and this space was designed with you in mind. And that's really the approach that we've tried to take with our building.
The way I look at it is that we're just stewards. We're only here for a certain time period. This building's going to outlast me and our family.
I would say to anyone that's looking at donating to this project, this is an investment in the future for hopefully several generations to come. You know, I've seen people who have come to Foot Care, and then a few years later, I ran into that person at a theater looking just amazing. People do heal, do get better.
You know what? The amount of people that they've actually helped out is just phenomenal. That building, it needs to be here.
It was actually last Sunday. I had my meltdown, and I had members of staff sitting on the floor with me, making sure I was okay, and saying, just cry it out. We're here to look after you. And that is a standout, that they were so supportive.
For decades, we have really been adapting our programs around the space that we have. And so can you imagine the amount of dignity, compassion, and care that we can provide with a purpose-built facility that will address the needs of the community that we serve? It'll be amazing.
We got off the streets mainly because of you guys, okay? Like, we both had pneumonia and we were living in a tent. That year, I mean, it just poured like crazy. But when you're in here, you feel like a human being again. You had showers, food every day, coffee in the mornings. The wife and I mean, God, we appreciate everything you people have done for us, okay? Like I said, if it wasn't for you guys, God, man, I don't know where we'd be. Like, seriously. You know, I don't know how much this building's gonna cost, but damn, man. You know, people, dig a little deeper into your pockets and help them out.
Whether it's a fresh bowl of soup, a fresh pair of socks, or a hot shower, you can't put a price on dignity. Join us to move first forward.
Thanks, Amanda. It always takes me a minute after watching that video. This is probably the 10th or 12th time I've seen it in the last few weeks. And I always think I'm going to be like fine the next time and be able to open my mouth, but it's still get a little verklempt. So we have about 10 minutes left before we need to wrap up. But if there are questions, I missed a question from Karen about how long would the food truck be in place each day. So I'm happy to talk about that. But if you have other questions about our programs or about the redevelopment or a capital campaign, I'm happy to answer those. And while you're thinking of your questions, Karen, I will answer yours. So we imagine that the food truck will normally service the 400 block of Powell Street, and the north side of that street opens up for parking at 9:30 in the morning. So Bert's imagining that they'll get all of their prep work done, like food loaded into the truck in the morning, and then sort of cruise on up there. It's a good block right across from Oppenheimer Park where there's picnic tables, people can go across into the park and eat. There's often sheltered picnic tables that the city provides in the winter months when it's raining a lot, and there's not a lot of retail space. So it's actually a good space for the truck to line up. We normally only serve meals for about 30 to 40 minutes during the day. And so the actual window for the food service would be open from probably 12 till 12:30. And we also imagine having other staff and volunteers who come for the actual food service part to help with managing the lineup and keeping people happy. And, people in the community spend a lot of time in lineups every day. And so sometimes they can, little frustrations can flare up and that sort of thing. We'll also have, we use all compostable, disposable like plates and cutlery and things like that. So we'll have big garbage bins with composting bags so that we can also help to clean up the community, and that we're not just, leaving a bunch of leftovers and empty plates lying around afterwards. And so we imagine being wrapped up about 1 or 1:30, which will give Bert's team time to get back to the commissary kitchen and clean up and get the food truck cleaned and ready for the next day. So that's the plan. We have other questions about first or about our redevelopment?
You want to say anything about the time frame, Carmen?
Of redevelopment?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so as I said earlier, we're going to hopefully start the demolition of the building in early 2022. Right now, the last sort of puzzle piece besides permitting, which we're well on our way with those things, is the relocation of the shelter. Obviously, we don't want to displace the 40 or so people who have been staying with us during the pandemic. We reduced our beds from 60 to 40 so that we could physically distance between places where people were staying in our buildings. And so we're moving to a temporary shelter on the 400 block of Alexander Street. And right now, it's looking like probably the first week of April is when that new shelter will open, pending the arrival of the rooftop heating units, which are talking about Bert's supply chain issues earlier, it's a 16-week construction schedule, but 22 weeks to get the heating units because sheet aluminum is hard to come by these days. And so the fabricators of the heating units are having a hard time keeping up with demand. But once we get the shelter transitioned into their new space the first week of April, then we can start immediately with the hazmat abatement and start to work to take the building down. And then we imagine it'll be about a 22 to 24 month period from the start of the demolition. So we should be opening by mid-2024. Thanks, Heather.
Oh, well, great. Can hardly wait.
Hi, folks. Amanda Brose, Director of Development here. I just wanted to mention we have another event next Wednesday as well for Communities of Faith, a gathering where we'll have this video, but an extended version that's including some of our ministry and the work that we're doing here as well. And if you know folks who'd like to attend or you'd like to come as well, please spread the word. We have Carmen there. We have our Dr. Cheryl Bert, our Director of Community Ministries. We'll have the Reverend Rian Walker from St. Andrews Wesley. We will have the Reverend Carrie Coatman-Haynes from Crossroads, Nancy Talbot from Mount Seymour, and Trina Duncan, the Executive Minister of the Pacific Mountain Region, will be addressing us as well. So it should be a nice time. In the chat, the link. Just thought I'd put a plug in there. Thanks.
Let's hope I survive watching that video. I haven't seen that one yet. So when you start to throw church stuff in there, I might get really pumped.
I would just say, I'm Heather Clark. I chair the board of directors. At the launch that we had, I get all choked up too because it's all very exciting and passionate about it. But our launch on, what was that, Tuesday? Tuesday, yeah. And we had this in-person event. I don't know whether any of you were there. I don't see any familiar faces from that day. But I just tell you that it was a most remarkable launch. And there was so much enthusiasm by the, I would say, approximately 60 people that were there. I didn't do really a count. and they saw this video, and they also saw another one about the wheat $1 million donation. There was just such good vibes in the room. It just felt so good that we know that we're going to get this campaign, this capital campaign, reaching its goal, if not surpassing it. So just to let you know, there's a lot of enthusiasm and support out there that just needs to get mobilized a wee bit.
Wanda, you asked for the date and time of the next event. So if you click on the link immediately above yours, where it starts with Eventbrite, that will take you to the website where the date and time are posted, and where you can register the same as you did for Toast Talks. But it is on Tuesday, November 24th at 5 p.m. Jan, I see you. Or Jean, sorry.
Jean, just a question. Do you have it listed anywhere? You talked about all the major donations that have come so far. Is that in print anywhere?
Amanda.
Sorry, is Amanda? Yeah.
Hi, thanks for that question. Yes, it will be on our website under the first forward section. Under the capital campaign, we will start listing donors with their, obviously if they're okay with it, that we ask for that consent up front with a gift, but we are listing contributors. And you're also gonna see around town, we made a conscious effort to make an investment into building our brand awareness at this time as well. And around town, we have billboards and our buses wrapped and sky trains, newspaper, digital ads, print ads, postering the city. And I'm about to give a disclaimer that we got massive discounts for that. But even if we didn't, we believe in the investment of spreading the news, because the deep downtown Eastside deserves our attention, and not many social service providers are able to do public ad campaigns like we have just launched this week. So you'll be seeing a lot of that. And the reason I also say that in regards to acknowledging our contributors is part of our campaign is around, you can't put a price on dignity, give what you can. And we absolutely mean it. It is a collective effort for us all to come together with the resources we have to share, and collectively we're going to get there. So we really do want to honor, whether it's, $5 or, whatever you can give that is relative to how you can give and what you can give. We want to honor all those gifts as well.
I think that's such an important point, Amanda. I remember in a previous charity I worked at before I came back to the church and to work at First United, our executive director getting choked up about somebody who had cut their cable service so that they could maintain their monthly gift to that charity. And, I am privileged as a long, like a Cradle United Church person, to know personally so many of our supporters and donors. And, there's a person who I've known for decades, and I happen to know that this person makes a monthly gift of $3.20, and like to be that committed and to know that $3.20 helps is just like, there's no gift that is too big or too small. And I'm so excited about where First United is headed and having this amazing facility. Really excited about building sacred space, not just for worship services, but we imagine having some kind of indication in the floor or the wall where we can orient people who might access that space to Mecca if they want to have Muslim prayers in that space. There are people from so many faith backgrounds in the downtown Eastside, and nearly all of the faith-based organizations working in the downtown Eastside are Christian, and many of them are not necessarily so ecumenically or interfaith minded. And just having two drop-in spaces, one for immediate needs, and we have built in dedicated volunteer break room, because we imagine finally being able to have space for the wider community to come in and participate in engaging with the community with us, so that we're not all tripping over each other's feet in these tiny little spaces that used to be church offices. And so pretty exciting. See, we are almost at time. Is there any last burning questions, either in chat or you can raise your hand or unmute yourself? All right. Well, I start our leadership team meetings with 2 minutes of silence, but I won't end the meeting with 2 minutes of silence. So if there's no further questions, just thank you all for coming this morning. We had an equally well-attended event last night, and we're so thrilled to be getting the word out. And yeah, don't hesitate to reach out to Amanda or to me if you lose Amanda's email address there, or you don't know mine. You can always email firstforward@firstunited.ca, and Amanda will get back to you. So thank you so much for your time, and hope you all have a wonderful weekend.